We continue with Melvyn Davies, who was one of the leaders of the theme too, and he will introduce actually the goals and purposes of data team. Please.
Right. Yes. Thank you, Oksana, and welcome to everybody who's here. I think a number of you people who has not been in this room before. Some of you. You are most welcome. This is the Lund Observatory, part of the Department of Astronomy and Theoretical Physics, which indeed is part of the Natural Science faculty at Lund University. So you're all most welcome. So I'm going to take a few minutes to introduce what the data theme is to everybody before we get on with the real meat of the day. So what is the data theme? Well, it's at the Pufendorf, so we already heard about the Pufendorf Institute of Advanced Study. So it's a theme at the Pufendorf. It's been running since August, and it finishes at the end of this academic year. It has 17 core members drawn across several faculties, I think 7 faculties and the library. So the core members are people who get, as we just heard, they get money, right? They get an opportunity to spend about a day a week working together at the Pufendorf. And our normal day is a Wednesday, so we meet on Wednesdays at the Pufendorf. And I'm one of the 3 coordinators. There's myself, Monica Lassie, and Kalle Ahlström. We work together, the 3 of us, as coordinators of this thing. And it's quite a large theme, actually, 17, because there's more people around it too, right? And so we actually took our work and we've organised it into something we call threads. And there's 5 threads, and I'm going to briefly introduce those in a minute. So the core members here are listed. Don't attempt to read this. It's a long list. But the only thing I will point out here is the list. So you've got a name, what they do, and which faculty, right? And the list here has got all the faculties. We've got the School of Economics and Management, that business school, Humanities Theology, the library, engineering, medicine, science, and social sciences. So we've got people really drawn across just about the entire university. We've not done so much about data and e-law yet, but we're always looking to recruit more people. So what can you do with data? So what can you actually do with data? Well, you can do a lot of things with data, right? And there's sort of 3 things that we've thought about in the theme directly. You can store data, you can look at your data, and you can find out about things from your data, right? And that might be looking at some patterns in some pre-existing results of something, or it might even be computer simulations to model something going forward, looking at the flow of wind, air around a chimney or something. Computational fluid dynamics would count in discovery from your data too. And so really what we've been thinking about is all of those 3 things. And so we have 5 threads, and those threads collectively look at those 3 things. So we're going to hear today about threads 1 and threads 5. And we'll see in a moment we have further meetings coming up in May and June looking at the results of the other threads. So I'm just going to take a moment to mention these things. So thread 1 really is about archiving vanishing languages, about how do you store a language, right? I've got a vanishing language, and there are vanishing languages, right? Languages that are about to go extinct. There's a very small number of native speakers. How do we record a language that's about to go extinct so that a Monica in 120 years can dig this thing up and learn this language? How do we do that? It's an interesting question, right? And very actuelt, very real question, because these languages are about to go extinct. How do we do that? Right? How do we visualize the universe? Now, that's might be straightforward. Perhaps a lot of us have gone to Vattenhallen here in Lund. Look in the planetarium, we can look at the universe. But how do we really figure things out by looking at the universe? There's lots of data in astronomy now, progressively more and more data, quite complex, quite highly dimensional data. We now know the positions and speeds of stars, but also their colors, their ages, how much oxygen is in their atmospheres. How do we look at all that at the same time and figure patterns out? Right? And one idea we're exploring here is to use virtual reality to do that, because I can look with the headsets on and switch between various different fields, various different things, right? The temperature of the star, the age of the star, show me all the stars in the galaxy of a certain range of ages or temperatures, and flick between them, and I can suddenly see patterns. That's the idea we're exploring there. Discovery from the written word, we all write things down, right? Take a really direct example in medicine. General practitioners, primary care physicians write doctors' notes, right? And they may note individually over time something that collectively can bring some new knowledge, right? They may collectively, through all their notes, you can understand that perhaps a certain drug is not a sensible drug to prescribe. If someone comes in with a red face or something, they're allergic to this drug, and over time people can understand that by bringing information together by using machine learning to look for patterns in complex sets of assorted data. And what they're actually really doing here, which is really quite wonderful, is looking at doctors' notes, written word, and doing scientific discovery with this NLP of the written word, machine learning. Catalogue of stellar spectra, another astronomical application, but a direct problem which applies to lots of other fields too. So in astronomy, we take spectra of stars, we take the light through a prism and spread it out into the wavelengths. And you see those absorption lines, the dip in the wavelengths, the dip in the light rather, that tells you you've got a line of oxygen or carbon. And you can reduce the spectra, you can figure out the size of these lines, how much of the light is blocked out. And the more carbon you've got, the more light is blocked out at this atomic transition in carbon. And a diligent student might be able to look at 100 or perhaps 1,000 spectra during their PhD. But the challenge now is enormous because there are future detectors going on telescopes in the coming years that are going to take literally tens of thousands of spectra a night. We're talking about millions and millions of spectra that you want to reduce. So you need to do it in an automatic way on a computer. And the trouble is the universe is a messy, complex place. It's never quite as simple as the idealized second-year physics lecture of atomic physics. And so how do you figure out to go through all the nasty situations here in an automatic way? Because you can't possibly look at 100 million spectra. Can you do that by looking at the underlying physics and think about all the what-ifs? Or do you take 1,000 or 10,000 spectra, get some diligent grad students to reduce those carefully, and have that as a training set, using machine learning again to analyze all the spectra in that way? And that's the question we've been exploring there. Thread 5 is not like the others, okay? It's actually been quite wonderful. And I'll make a comment, actually. I should acknowledge the funding from the Pufendorf, which has made all this possible. And I'll mention it again in a minute when we talk about the parts of the program we're doing, the theme. But it is an opportunity to bring people together, completely different ways of thinking about things. And it's been really quite a refreshing and fun year because of that. So I thank particularly the Thread 5ers for bringing in a whole different way of looking at things to a number of us, I would say, in the sort of computational side of things. So Thread 5 is understanding how we work together. So that's Monica and Catherine Harrison leading that thread. And it's really been doing a lot of talking about how we work together, how we interact, how do large networks of researchers work together, how we can communicate. So that's been a very interesting and really extremely added value for an awful lot of us, I would say. So how does this all sit on my triangle then? Well, you can see here we've got thread 1 is all about storage, thread 2 is visualization, and threads 3 and 4 is all about discovery. And then again, thread 5 is bringing us all together. So I should mention again, acknowledging that Pufendorf, whose funding has made all this possible, and an important part of a theme, or an opportunity for those running a theme, coordinating a theme, is to have visitors. So Pufendorf provide really very helpfully funding to have visitors. And these are our visitors here. And we will hear from two of them today. Anne Bullier and Christine Boardman are here. Welcome. And we will hear from them today. And it's been a great opportunity for us in the theme to actually have these visitors. They've really contributed an awful lot and continue to do so. So thanks both for them for coming and also for the Pufendorf for making that possible. I should mention already, I think I mentioned already, that we have a number of meetings coming up beyond today. So we're here, right, 3rd of May, threads 1 and thread 5. But we also have 2 more events focused on the threads. So we have an event in here, same room, on the 23rd of May. And that's presenting work of threads 3 and 4. So again, that's the machine learning, the discovery from the written word, and the spectra I mentioned. And so that's going to be here. So broadly, machine learning in medicine and astronomy. And that's going to be in this room, similar format, on the 23rd of May. And we also have an event focused on the visualization on the 20th of June. And just to keep us all on our toes, that will not be in here, for very good reasons, actually. It'll be in Lux because it's on the third day. Previous 2 days is going to be a related meeting, and they're organised by Nico Dall'Unto, who's here somewhere over there. Welcome, Nico. And that's why we're going to, on the 20th of June, not be in this room. We'll have a sign up on the door, I'm sure, so everyone knows where to go. And finally, we're going to have what we call the Plans Going Forward meeting. We sort of cheated with the nice agreement of the Pufendorf people. Our theme formally finishes at the end of this academic year in June, but we're actually having a meeting at the end of August, just before we start the new term. The idea being is we want to talk with each other again. What are we going to do in the autumn? You know, data theme carries on, and the work carries on, as working together carries on, as learning how to work together carries on. And we're having a meeting at the Pufendorf on the 29th of August, a relatively informal discussion meeting, seeing what all our plans are. Next week, we will be advertising 23rd of May meeting. You may well get an email from me asking or pointing out how to register, giving you the program. Also next week, the program for the 23rd of May will be on the following site, www.compile.lu.se. So Compile website is something we set up here in Lund, the idea being for all things E. So e-science meetings, computational meetings, data theme meetings, all these sorts of things will be advertised or are advertised on this Compile website. So then that's worth noting for two reasons. If you want to know what's going on in Lund and you want to go to those things, check out the website. Or also, if you want to advertise something, if you yourself are organising a workshop on R, on Python, on whatever, and you want other people outside your own faculty to know about it, by all means contact us. And that means myself and Magnus Ullner, who will now wave so people know who he is. So please contact us if you have something you want to advertise on the Compile website. This is my last slide, and I'll close with this. So this is the program for today. I'm just going to leave this up actually now while we have Oksana and Monica introduce threads 1 and 5, and just wish you all a happy meeting. Thank you.